for the people that have joined, I mean, if you have specific questions, feel free to type them out in the chat, and we'll just go one by one and try to answer.
Yeah, this is basically a format like we're sitting at some table outside of a building as people walk by, just asking us questions. So,
yeah, but no, we thought it would be good at least to, I think we're recording this as well, but it would be good to just collect some questions. People so we can answer maybe many people's questions at once, and obviously as we go on the next couple of days, we can do more stages if people feel like they missed out, or if things are not really clear, or they don't understand some things. So to answer the hex ownership, the way obviously it works right now is you can purchase 1 out of 3 spots in a hex. That will go away. There will be a new hex map introduced only for registration purposes, which have smaller hexes. And to claim a hex, you deploy an antenna inside that hex, and it becomes yours automatically. So we don't want people to be able to essentially buy a hex and kind of. We've seen that there are several areas, not all, but there are several areas where all the hexes are sold out. For example, Tennessee and Mississippi, and there in Tennessee there's no antennas. In Mississippi, I think there's 1, and in Florida, completely sold out. There's 5 antennas. And the reason why we're needing to adjust this, we kind of mentioned it in the document as well, is because we're having a lot of conversations now with data buyers. And for the larger ones, they do require a much higher level of redundancy. And we are currently not able to get that with the current model. So we have to actually get a higher deployment rate of antennas across the board to maximize the data sales into the future. But yeah, so you will have a hex, 1 hex per antenna that you deploy in.
And just what I would add is, don't think of it in the same way that you were purchasing a large hex before. This is simply like an assertion or location hex. It is just for, you might want to even say bookkeeping, to keep track of, where are people deployed, where are the antennas deployed, without too fine of a accuracy, but it'll allow us to map it out. And I think I said the other day, there's like 340 some odd resolution 6 hexes in a size 3 hex. So there's a lot of space, and it's a reasonable size, I think, for people to deploy without stepping into each other. But so we don't make this super long, I'll stop talking, and maybe we should move to another question, because we'll probably come back to this one anyway.
Yeah, so we can go to what qualifies as a pioneer. All the people that participated in the alpha version early on, they are pioneers. Currently, we're in beta. So the beta are obviously beta, and alpha, those are the pioneers. Refunds to users who have purchased hexes recently will be refunded or offered tokens via email if no deployment in that hex by the purchaser. So how the refunds will work, or the token airdrop, we will send out a form, as a Google form, to everyone, to all the emails that are linked to the accounts, where you can make your choice on what you prefer, either a full refund for the hexes or the token airdrop. Or the people that have purchased hexes but have not deployed an antenna, you can, if you want the token airdrop, you have until the end of this month to actually deploy an antenna, and you can take part of that. For all the other ones that just have the hex, we will refund by default. And originally the rule was, you needed to deploy within 30 days. And so obviously we haven't taken any hexes back, so we're just going to refund everyone on that one, just to try to be fair.
Yep.
Can someone deploy in an already owned new Res 6 hex and be rewarded, or no? No. 1 Res 6 hex per antenna. Grumpy asked, but the more antennas in a hex, the more that split the reward, and that kills it, i.e. helium. Antennas still should be limited. So yes, so the problem now is that we're essentially seeing that we're limiting before we reach a level that's needed for business purposes. So that's obviously a problem. If we filled every spot in a res, in a res 6, that would be too many antennas. We have really good ways of monitoring when specific areas reach an adequate level of redundancy based on sending data samples to the buyers. And as soon as we reach enough redundancy, we will end up capping if it gets higher than that, because we don't need it. So we believed that it's better to be able to grow to enough level and then cap it versus capping it before we reach that level, if that makes sense. And then Grumpy also said, then somewhere else you have listed that they can be on a waiting list for a hex, if I read correctly. Yes, so we will still allow people to sign up for a taken hex for a waiting list, just as an option.
Just point of clarification. You said earlier a limit per res 6, but we're talking res 3. So res 6, there is still, it's a 1-to-1, one antenna versus one resolution 6. They're reasonably small. But yes, as a resolution 3, which is our normal Skyhex reward system size, the one you've seen and you'll see on heat map stuff on the dashboard very soon, that is what we're trying to potentially evaluate and limit as needed. So if things are getting too saturated or it's going to be too saturated, we lock it. And then yes, there would be a waiting list for any new availability within that hex. Or if you want to try to also take over a existing spot, if someone moves out and you want their hex.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying there. Rodoraka said, please refresh on who are alpha. Alpha people are the ones that participated in the alpha version, which was up until I think November 2nd. We had that locked, and then we opened beta November 2nd, which is the current phase. So everyone before that was alpha. And if you are an alpha, you will have access to the Pioneer channel. If you don't have access to the Pioneer channel, you're in beta. Grumpy said, can we put multiple antennas in a hex for redundancy? You cannot put multiple antennas in a res 6 hex, but in the current, like the way the Skyhex is now, yes, you can have multiple antennas spread out in one of those, and they will all be assigned their own location. But we don't want, one person to put 6 antennas in their same house, because it doesn't benefit us long term. It gets the same data.
Or even a blockway. And we know there's unique situations there where there's potentially, it can happen where there's a large obstruction in the middle of a res 3 hex that blocks you from accessing, say, east and west at the same time. So 2 antennas might make sense there. But if you look at the hexes, we think it's still reasonable enough that you could have one in the one that covers the west side of stuff, and then the next hex over a deployment that covers the east side of stuff. Yes, that does mean you have to find the location to install it, but it stops the whole overlapping, as Robin said.
But what we're gonna do now is, in this change, everyone that has an antenna, you will 100% be assigned a hex for each antenna you have, so you will not lose out on a spot for your antenna. And then obviously as we go, I mean, we're not oracles, but we've spent a lot of time evaluating this model. We must have spent 150 hours talking to people, customers, drawing up different scenarios, figuring out what is the best. And this is what we came to. But that, we cannot sit there and say there will never be a small tweak. So that's why we're always open for feedback on how it can be improved over time. Fadsky said, will there be a res 6 map showing deployments filled? Yes. Bernie, can I drop multiple antennas in an area now? Not in the res 6 hex, but like if you are in a city, you can have multiple antennas in the city, but they need to be spread out. A res 6 hex, I think the width of the hex is about 10 kilometers, which is maybe like 6 miles, 7 miles wide. Gert said, how about doing similar as GeoNet with NFT to lock rewards for the hard? We like GeoNet. That's a good model, but there are some limitations to why we can't really do that right now. One being that we don't have a good enough idea of exactly where all the antennas are. because they don't have GPS. Let's see. I want to put 2 antennas in one location. So that question, if you want to put 2 antennas in one location at different gains, it's kind of like, you have a model, and with any model, you're going to have some people that do it completely right for a good purpose, and then you're going to have people that do it for a bad purpose, or they try to game a model. For example, if you have, I like this example, maybe it's dumb, but I like it. Let's say you have a school zone. Just because you drive responsibly through that doesn't mean that everyone does it. So they have to put speed bumps, and it's kind of annoying to you because you think, well, now I have to drive slow here and bump over these. I don't need this, but you have to kind of find a model that's overall best for everybody, but it will be individual circumstances that it will maybe not be as good. But there's going to be trade-offs. So we don't really want these 2 antennas in the very same house, even though I see what you're trying to do there, or what you mean.
I mean, realistically, there is also the option there of using, I don't know if you'd want to, but to use 2 USB receivers, an antenna on each, figuring out how to merge the data. I mean, there are, I guess, ways to still accomplish the same thing. I would be curious what you would find in the difference between a 5.5 and a 12 as far as local versus distant messages and rates. So I guess it would just be like something we should probably chat about more, just to find out what would be the benefits or not. Maybe that's something we can evaluate, that in certain circumstances this does work better and we can still accomplish it as one install or one antenna, even though we're using the word antenna to kind of mean your installation, your ground station, whatever you want to call it. And in this context, we're saying antenna meaning a physical, antenna. So let's keep talking about that, maybe in regular general chat or hardware, and we can discuss the options.
Yeah, exactly. So Rotor Rocket said, I'm reaching 250 miles. What's the benefit of providing data outside of my hex? So the smaller hexes are only for registering your antenna. The rewards will work the same way they do now. You will get rewarded for all the areas you cover on this. So this current SkyHex map will be still the rewards map. So all the hexes you cover on the current map, you will still earn rewards from all of those. So you will still want to reach as far as possible. And when it comes to the rewards, because now we're going to one model, so every hex on the map will have the equivalent rewards to if there was 3 core owners and a supporter package in every hex. So they're all maxed out. So if, for example, if you now have some hexes with your core owner, but you cover also hexes that are not owned, those not owned hexes now will be bumped up massively in terms of rewards. And all the ones you own would be equivalent to, there'll be about essentially 350% rewards in all hexes across the map. So you want to cover as much as you can still.
And so, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, there will be a heat map as well that's coming that will show you at the SkyHex Resolution 3. It'll show you your contributions to each of those hexes, as well as your percentage versus overall contributions. This will be pretty good in visualizing, because it's not like I can draw with paint or something right now to draw you something. Even if I could, you wouldn't want to see it. We need some kind of visualization tool that will be perfect. It will show you the idea of, most of my data is probably clustered around the hex that I'm in, the Resolution 3 hex that I'm in, and that the further out I get, I'm still contributing data, but if you have others also surrounding you that have done installs, you will see that your contributions start to diminish in proportion. I'm saying in general, I know there's going to be people who have great setups that'll counter this, but in general, you will see that your contributions start to be less and less. So like further away, I may only be contributing like 30% of the data that has been collected in that hex, but I will still be rewarded for that and based on that contribution performance level. So I'm still getting rewarded. I'm just not getting it rewarded as much as someone who perhaps is providing better coverage in that area.
Yeah. So Grumpy says, so what happens when I have two antennas in the same hex? Hex is almost 5 miles by 5 miles, which is 25 square miles. Look at a city like New Orleans, only 3 hexes covered. So after 3 antennas are there, there's no more antennas. So on resolution 6, when we looked at it, we mapped out essentially all the current antennas and looked at the hexes. If you have a hex, an antenna in one Res 6 hex, and there's another antenna that's also in the same hex, you will get the hex that is closest to that antenna next to it. So you will get a hex for each antenna, because we thought that was the fairest way of doing it, since you definitely cover much more than the hex itself. Everyone will get 1 hex per antenna guaranteed.
And just take a step back. If you look at any major area, airport, city, something like that, high traffic, air flight area, and you look at things at a resolution 6 and you say, oh, I'm only able to have 1 antenna per that. You can start to psych yourself out on this, but realistically, if you do take that step back and look around, every single resolution 6 around that one and everyone around literally everywhere else can be installed as well. And there is cross coverage. I mean, I am covering as a location in a Res 6 hex based on how many hexes I have coverage with, that I am sending at least or receiving some messages. I am receiving messages for literally thousands of resolution 6 hexes. So if you look at it that way, that there's tons of overlap. You're not, I know I'm not explaining this the way it first started in my head, but maybe Robin could help. But the idea is there is actually plenty of overlap. It's not like if a city looks like it, the city proper itself is only 3 or 4 resolution 6 hexes. That doesn't mean that that's all the coverage that city gets. It's going to have coverage from all the surrounding hexes as well. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a few areas when we look at the antennas that are close to each other, and we have solved that. Like, we know exactly, we will give everyone a hex. So right now, let's say do an example, let's say there's one Res 6 now that has 3 antennas. Those antennas will get 1 hex each in that area. So like there will be like a kind of like a triangular area with 3 hexes assigned to those antennas. So it will be solved. 1 antenna per S6 is Wingbit's goal. No, it's not the goal long term, because that'll be too many. Bernie asked, long story, 1 antenna per S6 is Wingbit's goal. No, it's not the goal. It's a way to distribute them now and let more people in until we see that we reach enough saturation to have enough redundancy, and then we will cap it on the regular SkyHex map that's now on that level. We will cap those areas when they're high enough. So there's no way we want every Res 6 to be taken. That's too many. But when we looked at the different resolutions, we had to make a decision, and we ended up at Res 6 because that made sense for just antenna registration. And then we have monitoring in place now together with our customer to make sure that we reach the redundancy, and then we know exactly when to cap it. So Tudor said, how do you apply for a refund and when will it happen? So we will send out the form, if not tomorrow, early next week. It will be sent to your email. If you do not receive it, obviously reach out. There you type your email. We know which account that's linked to, and you select which option you want. And then we will issue the refund by the end of this month when everyone has decided. So as soon as we have all the answers, or by the end of this month, we'll start issue refunds. Some people may take longer if they don't see the form, so we will start at the end of the month issuing everything.
Ancillary is asking, what's the nautical mile coverage per hex currently. If you're talking about side to side, you're going to get me. I don't remember what the current resolution 3 size is. Do you remember, Robin?
Well, I think it's 100 kilometers width on a resolution 3 hex. I don't know what that is in nautical miles.
Almost the same.
Yeah. I mean, the width is about 10 times the Res 6. Tudor saying a hex could be sold max 3 times. Doesn't mean all 3 owners will still own it. They will not own it on that size, but all the hexes they own will be inside that area, if that makes sense. We can actually, what we can do after is actually create some screenshots and try to visualize it better so everyone can see, like, okay, the current SkyHex map will still be as is, but you don't claim your hex there. You just, that's how rewards are counted, and that's how you will see your coverage on the map. There will be a new map introduced when you register your antenna, and essentially there will also, it will be kind of like an explorer where you can see what areas are taken and what areas are open. So that will be introduced.
And I think that answers Grumpy's question of changing the SkyHex map. So that should be that.
Yeah, but like our goal is to have this implemented by middle of next week. Bernie says, I'm a little confused, but after everyone is assigned a Res 6, anyone can come in and put a new antenna in Res 6. No, like you get assigned a Res 6 and then it's locked. Only one antenna per that Res 6, so no one else can come into it. Does that make sense, Bernie? If not, please write again. But like only if you have an antenna in that location, you get the location, no one else can get it.
Roto Rocket's asking, are there partial refunds, basically?
We're going to have to do either or, because admin-wise, it's much too difficult for us to be able to handle it. So I know we thought about it, because maybe some people want a little bit of each, but it's not feasible for us to be able to handle that in a timely manner. So unfortunately, it's either or. Living Dallas, Texas said, I installed my antenna, then purchased 8 hexes within my range. I will be refunded airdrop for the 8 hexes, then assigned 1 hex per antenna. Yes, exactly. You can pick which one you want. So you will even, you will get refunded or token dropped 100% of what you spent on hexes, and then you will still be assigned hexes for each antenna without cost. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, Bernie. Okay, and with anyone here, we understand this is a change and people will have questions because, when projects change, maybe it's for the worse, but we've spent a lot of time thinking what's good for the project and what still can be good for the community long term. And we have faith in this model. We think it's really good, but always reach out with feedback. If you have questions, you can DM us at any time. So we want to make sure we answer all your questions. Let's see.
Just
Grumpy says.
Just real quick.
Go ahead, Mike.
Terror. I hear your question and talking about possibly different mechanics on how to reward stuff. I think it's probably outside of the scope of this discussion. Would not mind having a discussion with you in one of the other chat channels after this. But I don't want to act like we're ignoring your question. I just want to say we hear you.
Yeah. So Tara, please DM us and just like we can talk about it just to understand it better because we don't know. Maybe it's a great idea. Grumpy said, to make sure my notes are clear for later, if we don't want a refund and want tokens, do we fill out the form also? Yes. On the form, there will be 2 options. You fill out your email, so we know who it is, and then you simply click, I want a refund or I want a token drop. That's it. And then you submit it. If you change your mind, the form is editable. So you have until the end of this month to change your mind if you already make a selection. If you haven't answered at all by the end of the month, we're going to reach out for a little bit after. But eventually, if we don't get answers, we're just going to do a refund to make sure people at least get their money back. Let's see.
That's really all the questions.
Waiting.
Grumpy. Because you were looking up the distance earlier and you missed what we were saying, and you probably heard your name called. That was related to, you asked about Skyhex map showing the new res. And yes, that was what Robin was saying, was that there would be a new one, more like an Explorer, where you could see what was taken and what wasn't. Since now in the new system, you're not running around like setting up an antenna and then picking which hex you want to buy, or picking which hex you want to deploy to. It's based on your location. So this Explorer would give you a visualization. So if you're looking to expand out into a different area in Texas or something like that, or a family member's house in another state, you can look up and see if someone has already claimed the hex that they reside in.
Let's give it a few minutes. I know there's some more questions coming. So Twolfkale, T-Wolfkale. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway. So you will be monitoring the total data provided to Wingbits, and when the coverage is good enough with enough redundancy for specific hex area, you will be locking that area to prevent new antennas being installed. Yes, that is correct. So I think on the live token, because I'm surprised there hasn't been a when rewards yet in here, but to kind of discuss the live token, I can just discuss the process. So we finished setting up, yeah, thanks Bernie. I knew there's going to be one. We finished setting up the nonprofit foundation, which will essentially be governing the community. That gives us the ability now to mint a token when we want. To mint a token, we have to finish the tokenomics. And with tokenomics, it's quite difficult because there's really no one that has proven which model is the best, and it also depends on kind of use case and type of project. I would say we're about 70% done with tokenomics. Hopefully we can have that kind of set within the next few weeks. When that's set, we would want to issue like a test net token first to make sure that everything functions. And after that, we can actually go to mainnet. So I would say in a perfect world, maybe that's like Q3 of this year. But as with anything, things unforeseen things happen. So maybe even Q4, but like it'll be this year. So that's, I guess, the answer to when rewards in a long sentence.
And I zoned out for a second because I was looking at making sure our recording was working.
I was so boring. You said.
I know. I wanted to make sure the recording was still working. We didn't bog out on that. I don't know if you mentioned, but in the road to live token, there's always the big step of a rewards engine functioning perfectly. Mm-hmm. And example testnet rewards going out and people confirming receiving it in test wallets, stuff like that. So that's usually a really big stage during the development. I know there's all the time of coding the actual reward engine and everything else, but going through the process, making sure everything's functioning, and you're not like sending out 1 million tokens by accident based on a code bug. Those are important things. Yeah,
that would be good to avoid. See, Grumpy, I know this question will come up, so be prepared. If a hex where I'm installing an antenna for a friend is taken, is there a certain mile or distance that I can claim the hex closest to that is open? No, you have to be in the hex with the exception of the antennas that are already live, because we want to make sure that everyone gets a hex. But we do not want people to come in and claim hexes where they're not in, because we have multiple ways of checking this based on triangulating the data. So we don't want people to do that. We will have to do it on a few antennas right now, but those we obviously have. I mean, we know people are going to game. Obviously, we're not going to go into exactly how we solve this, but we actually can get extremely close within I mean, it's very close to where the antenna is, so we will know when people start gaming. So don't do it.
Real quick note on that. So there has been discussion. Robin mentioned that existing Hex owners will get a resolution 6 no matter what. And so there may be, depending on congestion, location, everything else, there may be the possibility that people end up in a lake, like an antenna is deployed in a lake, if it makes sense for that. So I think that is still something that could be worked out, just because you don't want to take up a potential good location from another future good participant and I think that alludes to what you're talking about as well, Grumpy, in a different direction. You don't want us taking your second antenna that's in a same Res 6 hex and taking someone else's potential Res 6, and then them trying to take someone else's Res 6 because they're not in that spot. I mean, it becomes a snowball thing. So yeah, we may have some creative antenna placements.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure everyone understands, like, you will be assigned a hex for your location. It has no implications on your rewards. You just, but if you don't have a hex location for your antenna, you're not in the project. That's why you need to have one, but it does not affect your rewards. So everyone is clear on that. If they see, oh, this Res 6 is, 1 mile from where I am, it doesn't have any effect on how much you earn. DLB Money 92 said, how is it decided who gets to own a region for an install first for already installed antennas? If there's 2 antennas, let's say in the exact same location from 2 different accounts, whoever was there first will get that location they're in, and whoever came after will get the closest one next to it. Let's see. Yes, we have considered this. So when, we got a question here, I do think that's a legit concern that people will just lie about their antenna locations. Yes, we have considered this because when we drew out all the different models, when we worked on this, each model will have their drawbacks where people, okay, in this model you can potentially game this way, in this model you can game this way, and in this model you can game this way. We know whatever model we choose, people will game it. So we're just anticipating that. And that's why we're putting these measures in place to actually catch them. But with that being said, the gaming that could happen in this model has much less impact than gaming that could happen in other models.
And what's also cool about this, there's always, when you try and choose a plan, the lesser of all evils. And I say that in a good way. There is trying to find the best possible plan that you're going to have to make tweaks in the future. You're going to have to deal with some stuff, but you look towards what is this plan going to do versus others as far as possibly needing tweaks in the future, and how would we deal with that? The one that requires the least amount of tweaks and least amount of confusing or complicated solutions is probably the best one for the community and for the project, because once you keep adding more complication on top of complication, people get confused. And I'm sure you guys have seen people come into Discord and be confused about core versus supporter, or that my hex is sold out, so I guess I'm SOL, I'm going to move on. You're like, no. You can still be a supporter, and then you have to explain to that. So again, complexity builds confusion, which builds more challenges in keeping a plan going and what tweaks you're going to have to make. So,
yeah. But I mean, I'm seeing some, let's see here. Tara said you can always choose the best 2-3 antennas in a hex, rest without rewards. Yes and no. Yes, of course we could do that. But I think a better way of doing that would be having this reward system, and then, if anything, implement a bonus reward for the best performers. Because what's not fair is, let's say you have a contributor that is actually doing their absolute best, but they're limited by where they live. I don't think it's fair that they should earn nothing, because no matter what they do, they can never be the best in those areas because of their location. So then it makes more sense to reward everybody based on percentage, and then, if anything, implement a bonus system if needed for the top performers later on.
Looks like Cello is typing. I'm going to take a step away for just a second, Robin.
Yeah, I'll hang out here. Do I have to do anything, or will you assign my hex? I have my antenna in. I own 5 near me, which cover. Yeah, so you don't have to do anything. We will assign you your hex. For all the hexes you own, you will, of course, either be refunded or token dropped for that value. If you, I don't know, if you're in beta, you can do 110% token drop. So you don't have to do anything except answer the form on which option you prefer. The hex will be assigned. So Nguyen, sorry if I'm saying these names wrong, but Nguyen asked, every antenna should be placed on a different location. Yes, if you have 10 antennas, it actually doesn't really benefit us if you have all 10 antennas in the same location, because we just get the same data point 10 times. So we want them spread out. So you would have to move the antennas around if you want to deploy more into the future. Avocado, if you joined after November 2nd, you're beta. If you joined before that and have access to the Pioneer Discord channel, you're alpha. You're welcome. And I saw up here, Living Dallas, Texas says, I'm actually really looking forward to this. We're happy you are. We think the model will be really good, but we know, we have work to do to monitor and make sure we cap it at a level that makes sense for the community. Because we're 100% understanding that the entire project is built on the community, and the community is the foundation of the project. So I promise you, we're always keeping that in mind to make sure we're fair and sustainable long term. Like, we know it will fail if we don't do that. Shallow said, I was in beta, bought 11 sky hexes, which my antenna covers, but I only have one antenna. Now I can choose if I get a full refund for the hexes or if I get 110% off the spending amount as token. Yes. So you bought 11 sky hexes. The total amount of money you paid, you can either get it all back, just regular money, or you can say, no, I want a token drop, and then it will be 110% of whatever money you spent on the sky hexes. Ancillary said, will 978 ever be integrated, or is it out at this point? We don't know. When we talk to customers, there's not really a need for it. They don't ever ask for it, so it doesn't seem to be that important. It's definitely not a priority at this point. I can say that. So Avocado, you're beta participant, based on that you joined January 24th. No, new one. So in the announcement, you can see at the bottom, it says if you have bought hexes, you have until the end of this month to deploy your antenna if you want to participate in the token drop. So you still have time. On Avocado, you bought 5 hexes, but only cover 3. At this point, it doesn't matter because we're going to either refund or token drop the value for the hexes. So, but your antenna will be assigned its own resolution 6 hex. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many hexes you have bought. If you have at least one antenna live, the entire amount you spent on hexes, you get refunded or token dropped. It doesn't matter. You just need to have antennas live.
Yeah, just to clarify, since you may have not been here earlier, Avocado, there's no partial refund. It's literally one or the other at this point due to logistics.
No, but Avocado asked, if you buy 5 hexes but you only cover 3, do you still get the other 2 hexes back as tokens? And the answer is, I guess, yes. All the hexes are either or. Either refund or tokens for the total amount you spent on hexes. What happens if we move to a house somewhere else? Is the sky hex attached to my antenna? No, so the hex you get assigned to your antenna is that location. So if you want to move, let's say you live in, I don't know, let's pick a state. You live in Arkansas now, you're moving to Tennessee, and your house is there. Maybe the hex is open, or maybe it's not, but you don't pay anything for the hex. So it's just like you claim it when you deploy. If you want to move, if it's open, you can take it, but it's not attached to your antenna.
Yeah, so new criteria when searching for a house. Good internet, check. Is my hex free for Wingbits? Check. Okay, we'll buy the house.
Okay, sorry, I think Nguyen here. Okay, so to clarify, Nguyen, is that if you have not purchased any hexes, obviously there's nothing to refund or token drop. But I would still recommend setting up the antenna, because wherever you set up the antenna, you will be assigned a hex. So sorry, I think I misunderstood. All right, Grumpy, thanks so much for coming in here, man. Is there any additional drop if you have 2 antennas, each in separate hexes? No. So we could have done this many ways, but again, we're still a fairly small team. This is already going to take quite a bit of admin work, which is totally fine, because obviously we're the ones that are proposing to do this. But you don't get additional token drop because you have additional antennas. It's just the total amount of the hexes and the percentage based on alpha or beta. Let's see, Rotor Rocket. Understand will be retro rewarded on data we're providing. Is there a calculation available to determine what reward will be in the future once the token goes live? So the rewards will be based on, I guess it doesn't really matter which one you pick, but the model before, if you were a core owner, there was additional rewards unlocked, and if there's more owners, they unlocked even more. And that would be essentially a calculation. But the new model has the full amount of rewards in each hex. So if we backtrack on the full amount of rewards, there's still no people competing with you in that, with exception for a few supporter. But we looked at that; it's very small. But there will be a calculation for it when we get to that point. But it will be accurate and it will be transparent on how it's calculated. And it will go all the way back to the first data point you sent. When does claiming start? What if there are 2 people with antennas in the same hex? So if 2 people happen to be in the same new resolution 6 hex, whoever had the antenna live first will get that hex. The second antenna will get the hex that is closest to it. But just to reiterate, it doesn't matter for rewards purposes which hex you're in. You just have to have a hex tied to the antenna to be participating in the project. That makes sense. Yes, for the resolution 6, there's max antenna. There's 1 antenna per resolution 6 hex. So only 1-to-1 on, but these hexes are a lot smaller. So only 1 per hex.
Avocado's asking if you getting a hex assigned will give you more rewards. No, it's just entry to the project. Basically, you have a location assigned. It'll be claimed. That resolution 6 hex will be claimed. You are a participant at that point. It doesn't affect the rewards that we were previously doing as far as how they're calculated.
Yeah, but I know some people joined maybe recently, and just to reiterate, every hex on the map now will have the max amount of rewards that were possible in the current model. So every hex will be maxed out. There's not less rewards per hex. It's maxed out everywhere. What size were the Skyhex? So Cello, on the current Skyhex map, that's resolution 3. On the new one that we're introducing for registration only will be 6. But the rewards will still, the Skyhex map will stay the same in terms of rewards. You get rewarded based on coverage on the current Skyhex map size.
And you weren't here before, but again, there's going to be heat maps that will show you your coverage, and those will be represented in the normal Skyhex resolution 3 as well. So again, resolution 6 only used really once, like when you're trying to onboard, like, is my hex taken? Oh, I've claimed my hex. That's about the only times you deal with it.
Exactly. Nguyen, I'm not sure I understand. I should assign the closest hex to my address. Whatever longitude and latitude your antenna is in, that's the hex it will get. Unless there happen to be 2 antennas on that exact same spot, Then whoever was there first gets it, and the second one gets the hex that's closest to it.
And big call out here. Robin put it in the post, but he mentioned make sure that your assertion location right now, your latitude and longitude, match where the antenna is so that you can be placed properly. If you have decided for some reason, or you just weren't paying attention and you've got your antenna currently in the middle of the ocean, and not at your location, it would be good to fix that now, because otherwise we're going to look and see, hey, he's in the middle of the ocean. How do we deal with this? So help us out.
Yeah. There's a couple of antennas that are mysteriously in locations that are impossible. So if any of you have those, please update the location.
We should have interlude music between questions.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Rotor Rocket, are you referring to hardware?
Yeah, off the shelf product. Yep.
So right now we're actually looking into that. There will be hardware at some point as a complement to, if you want to build your own, because we believe it would be good to have more of a turnkey type of hardware, like more plug and play. It would also be a little more secure hardware, which would benefit the project overall. It will come, I would say, maybe there will be last half of this year, because we want to make sure that if we sell hardware, we need to ensure that that hardware is at least as high, but preferably higher performing than something you build yourself, or it would be unfair to sell it.
And I think we also get the urgency on some level from participants, even new ones, based on market supply of existing stuff. We have continued to, and we'll probably still continue to add options on our documentation site for other places you can source items, because I've noticed over somebody called the wing bits effect, but yes, over time, some of the sources that you could buy things from have either jumped in price or they've become out of stock, and we don't want you guys limited in being able to set up new stuff. So obviously we understand the urgency there, but it is what it is.
I lost it. Oh, there we go. Somehow clicked out of stage. I'm like, where'd it go? 6 people. So let's see here. Cello said, when 6 people place their antenna before I place mine because the area is crowded, what does that mean to me? I don't know what area you're in, but when we went through the antennas, even in the areas where there's a lot of antennas, we figured out a very good way to assign all the antennas hexes anyway. If they happen to be in the exact same hex, it will be by order. So whoever was in the hex first will get it. The antennas that came after in order will get the closest hexes. But again, the antenna location and the hex assigned to the antenna does not have an impact on the rewards. It's just to participate in a project, you need to claim the hex that your antenna is in to participate. You will get, Charlie, you will get hexes for all your antennas, so don't worry about that. Gamma Nucleus said, will the blockchain need validators for support? I mean, we've been talking about that, but we don't have a clear answer for that one at the moment. But it's something we're looking at for sure.
Last day to get an antenna installed to ensure that you're assigned a hex. If you're up and running now, that's automatic. If you had hardware incoming and you're planning on having it up in the next couple of weeks or something, Robin, was there a deadline date?
Sorry, Mike, I lost my train of thought. What did you say? Say that again, please.
So if someone is adding a new antenna, they've already claimed their hex, they've got hardware on the way, they were planning on having it set up soon. Is there a deadline that they have to do that so that they get assigned to level 6? Like, by what end date do they need to have their antenna up and transmitting data so that they automatically get a level 6? Resolution 6. I'm saying level now.
So it will be by the end of this month, February 28th. And that's both for like if you bought a Hex and you don't have an antenna live yet and you would like to opt for the token airdrop versus the refund, you need to deploy the antenna before the end of this month to be eligible for that. If you have a Hex but no antenna after February 28th, we will refund by default.
And as you might guess, that's why the store or the ability to buy hexes was shut down, because we didn't want to create a situation for ourselves where people are buying hexes simply for the purpose of getting token drops at higher percentages or anything like that, or just causing more refund challenges.
Yeah.
So Newen's asking if we will still have do-it-yourself options if and when we have a off-the-shelf Wingbits solution. Will you still be able to bring your own solution with hardware?
Yes, the plan right now is to allow for both, but we do see specific use cases for having our own hardware. But right now, our view is like build your own or buy ours when it does come.
And follow-up is, will we have antenna and cables and everything with ours? Cable is always going to be the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's dependent on size, runs, everything.
I would actually have to say that we haven't thought about the cable. So I'm glad you brought it up. I guess it would be like you would choose an option of length, and then you know, as an add-on, if you want to buy the cable from us. But most likely it'd probably be easier to buy the cable elsewhere, honestly, than from us. And we would then recommend certain, I guess, vendors. Newen said, if I understand well, getting Hex is not important. Which one I get, the more important thing is getting more coverage. Yeah, so the Hex is representing the antenna location, just because we want to see where the antennas are so people don't claim the same area. The most important thing you can do to maximize your rewards is to have as good coverage as possible and have as much uptime as possible and not letting your antenna go offline. Those are the main two things.
Hey, and as a quick follow-up to that, we had held off on certain video content while we were working through plan stuff. So now that that's kind of moving forward and out of the way, we will have some more video content that will talk about optimizing your setup, things you should be looking for to make sure you maximize your contributions and obviously your rewards as a byproduct.
Yeah, and for all the community here, you know, like we have the suggestion channel. So if there's things you keep wondering about, you know, how do I maximize my rewards? What's the best setups? What's the best location to set up? Like, if you want specific guides that you think would benefit you, like please add that in the suggestions channel, because you know we know we have a lot of stuff to do over the next, you know, obviously a long time, but next few months. And so if anything you feel like is missing, please let us know in suggestions. Any feedback is super appreciated. Lord said, 8 hours is too long to get notified if your antenna goes offline. We agree. It's the first iteration just to get something going. We will take that down over time because we understand that 8 hours is too long. So it will go down.
And speaking of that, I don't know if Robin mentioned it previously when I was stepped away, but there is a future enhancement or a future feature that will be more proactive. Instead of you looking at your online status on a dashboard, we will proactively try to notify you and let you know, hey, your unit hasn't phoned home in a while, hasn't sent any data. But as Alex has mentioned before, there's always some challenges with that in the way things are currently implemented, in that there's a difference between your system is down and basically not responsive versus I just haven't seen a plane in a while. And even dealing with some tickets recently, there are people that just are not getting air traffic during certain parts of the day. So it can make it seem like the antenna or the ground station, whatever you want to call it, is down. But in fact, it's just literally, I haven't seen anything for a while to report to Wingbits. So Wingbits is like, hey, where are you?
Yeah. Lord also said, why not create an app to get notifications? No, we agree. There's a million things we can do. But we're still very early in the project, still a fairly small team. So we have a backlog of things that's miles long, and we have to all the time prioritize what's the most important thing to work on now. And right now, creating an app for that would take a lot of time away from doing things that are actually more important. And that's not saying the app would not be good, but that's a future kind of thing. Just want to say that from my seat, it seems like you guys have been prioritizing the actual needs of potential customers with this data, making decisions. I really appreciate that, 12K. We've tried really hard, so appreciate you saying that.
And it's a balance, do you mean right?
Yeah, it's a balance. I mean, no matter what change we make, I think in general, a lot of people maybe don't like change because you don't know what it will lead to. So it's always kind of like uncomfortable when a change is being implemented, because right now everyone kind of understands what the model is. Now we're changing, to a different model. And of course, people will be wondering. I mean, it's totally normal, but that's why we want to do this. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to answer your questions. But we feel really good about this model and the ability for us to monitor in terms of saturation to make sure everyone is protected over time.
Yeah, and when you say potential customers of the day, there's also obviously there's always the two aspects. You've got to worry about your participants, which are kind of your customers as well, but also data consumers as customers. And I know, just as a quick note, Alex could not be here. I'm sure he wanted to be here, but he had some family stuff going on. So I think just a quick shout out to him that he's here in heart.
He had a little family emergency that everything is good, but he had to attend, so that's why he couldn't be here. But I mean, Alex has been working. Obviously, Alex was the first one starting this. I came in a little bit later when we met, so he's been working really hard at this for a very long time. Avocado, wish the TAR 1090 is accessible remotely. I wish so too. But I mean, in the future, we have a lot of cool things we want to do in the future, like seeing your own planes, inside our ecosystem. So there's a lot of things we will do over time. It's just, some of these things are complicated and we have a lot of things to do and we just have to pick them off one by one. But, now we've expanded the team, 3 more developers that are helping us. So it's Mike, me, Alex, 3 developers, and we have an intern helping on the web development. So we're trying to expand, have another team member starting March 1st for the kind of like the community social media aspect, and we will expand the team even further later this year. So we're trying to scale up as fast as we can, but I mean, we're putting in as much time as we can. I mean, most of the weeks end up being 60 to 80 hours, so we're trying to do everything we can.
Just a quick call out for Avocado. I think you're already aware, but obviously Tailscale and other solutions that are similar to that can allow you to access stuff remotely. And I think that's super handy if you have multiple setups distributed with family members or friends or whatever, so that you can see what's going on, their graphs, their TAR 1090. It's super handy. If you haven't, for anybody else that hasn't looked into it, if you are going to send a unit out somewhere, or host it, home it, whatever you want to call it, at some other remote location, there are tools. I don't know if I don't want to like promote one over another, but that is one of the options, Avocado. And it basically allows it to create a VPN to their service. And then you can be on your phone or at home on a PC, laptop, or whatever, and remotely use that machine just like you were physically there. So you can view browser stuff. You can open up a terminal and update your gain or whatever. It's probably one of the best solutions. that we've had. This kind of whole genre is probably one of the best things we've had in the last 15 years come about, because the olden days of trying to figure out your routers and ports and the internet provider and what they allow and don't allow is just a huge mess. So these tools allow you to like get to anything remotely.
Yeah, and to Torvkale said, you can have the most decentralized and democratic setup for participants, but if there are no buyers for the data, the token and project has no value. We agree 100%. That's one of the main reasons we had to make this change, is because we are talking to a lot of potential customers. We're actually integrating with our first customer, which should go live hopefully within the next 6 weeks. We're kind of optimizing the data because we've been capturing the data in a certain way now for just to make it easy for us to get started. But then we have to actually keep more frames in the data for these customers, because there's a lot of frames included in the data we capture. But Torvkale, I don't know if you mean it as in you want to hear more of what type of people buy this data, or if it was just a general statement.
And my interpretation was you can let the townspeople run the city into the ground, but sometimes you got to make hard decisions and focus on who the best interest of the city, or in our case, the project.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lord said, if my antenna got damaged, maybe by Angry Bird, on waiting to get a replacement, how long will it take to lose my hex? So in the document, you will see if you go down to the details section in that proposal channel, there will be a reliability level included. Everyone that's already live will start at 100. The level goes from 0 to 100. New participants that are not in the project yet, that will join later, will start at 75. Each day your antenna is online, you'll get +1 on the counter, and you go up to 100. If you're offline, you get -1. So let's say you have to wait for 3 weeks and you're offline, you will lose 21 on your level, and then when you turn it online, it will go back up. So the formula, you can read it in the proposal, but it's essentially hex rewards for all the hexes you cover, times your contribution percentage for that hex, and times your reliability level. And that will be how many tokens essentially you earn.
Also referred to as like an uptime level.
Yeah,
uptime percentage, level, whatever you want to call it. But it's day by day. It's not like second by second. We're not evaluating every second of the day. This is just simply a day by day. And it allows you to have these little glitches where there's a hardware failure, or a machine goes down, you didn't notice it at a remote host, and it takes a few days to get it back up. You're not going to be penalized very much, and you can recover that fairly quickly. But it also is meant to discourage you going offline for, 5 months, 6 months. So kind of the end of the question there, and the end of what we're getting to is, I don't think we have a set plan yet, but the idea would be, yes, as you approach 0 or stay at 0, you haven't been up for 100 days, you're probably going to lose a hex, or perhaps sometime earlier than that, unknown at this moment, but that will be played into that whole uptime level, is deciding whether someone's abandoned the hex.
New and asked, I wonder how you can deal with persons that are gaming the system with several antennas. So obviously, I wish at one part I could really explain this, but for obvious reasons, if I explain it, then everyone knows, and then we'll make them game in different ways. But I can say this: we have a really good developer on board. That is essentially he's very skilled in data science, computational physics. He has built several models to deal with this, and that's as deep as I want to go. We will be able to see if you're trying to cheat on that level. But yeah, I mean, I understand the question, and we've thought about this for the last month while we've been trying to come to this proposal, and so we've solved that as part of going here. How we solve it, we have the models in place. Thanks, 12K. I appreciate that. Yeah. Dan S. Is there a way you'll be able to filter out people sending invalid or replay traffic? Yes, 100%.
Kind of feeds into the same topic as the previous question.
Same topic.
Yeah.
It's actually quite simple to do that with this data.
Man, we haven't dropped people enough. I thought, after like 20, 30 minutes, we would have dropped to like 5 people and we'd be like, all right, well, I guess that's it.
Maybe we should do stages more often if people want to come in and chat and ask questions. I don't know if people would appreciate that or not.
Oh, see, you opened the door, Robin. Now there's a follow-up question.
I don't mind going into it. So Tulfkale asked, can you tell us more about the customer you mentioned? So I can't tell the name because we had to sign an NDA with them, but I can tell you in general what type of segments actually buy this data. So the total market for ADSB data is $1.9 billion. And pretty much any company that works within aviation or near or around aviation, it comes from insurance companies to logistics providers that don't have their own planes, to credit card companies, to obviously data analytics companies within aviation, to airlines, airport control, airports themselves. They all buy this data already. It's a large segment. It's a large market. With some customers, you have to have global coverage because they are exclusive with one provider. Clearly, we are not there yet. But there's also a ton of buyers that buy from all the feeders because they need as much data as possible. And for all those customers, even this early stage, we can be a very good complement to what they're getting. Because right now, when we look at our data, we do have some unique data points that no one else has. So that's why we actually can start already this year with limited coverage, getting some customers. But based on these conversations with, for example, the large airlines, the airplane manufacturers, there is higher redundancy needed long-term for the data to be valuable enough. And that's why we're making this change.
And you know what? Just a random side note on that. There's something super interesting. I know probably most of you here, at least that I see, well, maybe some of you have not been exposed to other ADSB feeding projects before. And therefore you and your location have never been integral as part of the data that's been fed in. You guys coming on board with Wingbits is bringing a whole new participation group to the entire industry. So that's like a super cool accomplishment. When you think about the fact that all this is done by volunteers predominantly around the world, and the same tens of thousands of people have been doing it forever, for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. They've been all contributing to either their favorite aggregator or to a few of them, but they're the same people. You guys and all the other participants of Wingbits, a good chunk of them are brand new people that are coming into this and learning about ADSB and becoming a data provider. And that is exciting to us and exciting to potential clients.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, follow up from Tulfkale, what else has shown Wingbits to be unique from the customer perspective so far? Cost of data. So obviously, cost of data, we can set it at the level we need, but the main difference is because of this type of DPIN model, there's an incentive for everyone to have higher uptime because you lose rewards if you don't. There's an incentive to maximize your setup, which means overall we have much better uptime and much better coverage per antenna than the other networks. So it makes it a more robust network. And that's really important. Also, when it comes to the spread we have and our ability to essentially monitor now specific areas, and when we reach the adequate level of redundancy, we cap it. The other networks don't cap. There's just an unlimited, and it doesn't spread out at all. So our latency is actually way lower, but that's also thanks to Alex on the technical level. We actually built it better on that end. So there's quite a few unique selling points. But then let's say in this scenario, if you take a traditional network, let's say there's a specific area of the world where everyone is struggling to get coverage. we believe, and so far our customers agree on this theory, it would be easier to encourage deployment in that area by incentivizing deployment. Hey, maybe for this period of time, there's extra rewards, or we do something special in that area to encourage people to go there. With the other networks, there's no incentive to go there because you don't get anything. You're not really part of anything. So that's a massive difference. And if I say something you guys feel like it doesn't make sense, or you want clarification, or you think it sounds dumb, please let me know.
Cello's giving a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I mean, that's what we're trying to do, because I mean, this is the first time I've built in Web3. I built 6 companies in the Web2 space. I've had an exit before in 2021. So like, I've built a lot of businesses in the Web2 world. First one I built in Web3, and it's super exciting, mainly for the community aspect. Like, I just really like that a company can align its interest with the community. It just creates such a better model. So we feel super good about you guys being here. But most importantly, I was kind of going off track there. I don't mind being transparent. Like, when you do a startup, it's a risk. No one knows if it's going to work out. But we're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to build a real business. We're going to treat everyone fairly. And so, like, why should I not be transparent? Like, I have nothing to hide. We're just trying to build a business here, trying to do the right thing for our community, for the business, and for our team. And I just feel like that's a given. Like, if you build a project and you're not transparent, like, what are you hiding? Like, why do you? There has to be a reason to hide behind something.
And there you have it. So, Lord, I don't know, carbon dioxide, CO the second is asking, how do you plan to incentivize participants before the mainnet? And I know Robin's going to answer this, but I'm going to try to slip in real quick.
Do it, Mike.
The incentive for participating now is honestly retroactive rewards. I mean, sure, I could talk to you about how fun everything is, and there's a great community, and you get to see planes zipping around on your local TAR 1090, and it's just super interesting. But for the person who's coming here more as a crypto person, or the person who just wants a bottom line answer, I would say we're providing retroactive rewards. So it's not like some of the projects where you participate all the way up to either test and you don't even know what's going on, or main and you don't know what's going on. You have been building your personal data set since you started contributing to the project with your hardware. And the same goes for anybody that starts today. You are being tracked. You are being monitored for what you're providing, and the rewards engine will run at some later point to assess everything that's happened up to live.
Yeah, so
Robin can be better.
We save 100%. We save 100% of the data everyone transmits. So we have, I mean, we're approaching like 100 billion lines of data, but we need that because when we calculate the rewards, we need to go all the way back to the first data point and assign the correct amount of rewards to each participant. And we already have this in place. So we know how much everyone has sent. So yeah, that's a good point, Mike.
Oh, and just to clarify, that is like on a day-by-day thing. I'm saying this and also asking at the same time Robin to confirm, but this is on like a day-by-day thing. So if I was participating in September 23rd of last year, that single day will be evaluated. What was my ownership? What was the comparison of other data contributed around me? How does that play into the current rewards plan? And then submits that total, and that is what you're rewarded.
Exactly. Let's go. Are there plans to expand to other vehicles or devices data? I will leave this one at maybe. We're looking at a few that have good synergy. But when it comes to like building something, it's really easy to get excited about everything you can do. There's so many cool opportunities. But really believe that, okay, we first need to prove to everyone here that we can deliver value doing this. If we prove that we can deliver value to everyone, then we're in a good position to ask the community to say, hey, will you also track this data point for us now? Because we have at least proven ourselves that we can do it. So yeah, but there are some ideas and plans, but we need to do this first. And Mike, if you jump in if you want to answer, just tell me to shut up.
Yeah, no problem. Shut up. No, I'm just as a point of reference, I'm actually getting texted repeatedly. We have house guests showing up and I'm getting an ETA that they're coming. So I'm just trying to deal with, yeah. They'll show up when they show up.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the next question, which was Rotor Rocket asking, will the map show locations of other participants? Yeah. So there will be, similar to, you see the Sky Hex layout now, even though it's based on buying and everything else, similar to that, but think smaller hexes. And it's basically an explorer like you would see on some other projects. So you can see who's already in certain hexes. It should give you a pretty good idea. And not only that, it's kind of a cool heat map of sorts. If you scroll out, you can see what kind of total coverage we have in different locations. People have been asking for a while, like, hey, can I find out, like, what's the distribution of antennas right now that are installed? Like, how many are near me? How many aren't? This will be a great visual for people to, even if you're just looking out of curiosity, you'll be able to see what's going on around you. Who else exists?
Just to pitch in, we will never show exact location down on a granular level to where you can see, hey, it's in this house. It will be a general area. Like, so we don't want people to say, oh, this house on this street has a setup. Like, it will not be that granular. It will be on, 8 mile radius. You see in this hex there's someone.
Yeah. Like right now you see that a hex is taken, and that means that 1, 2, or 3 cores have purchased it. But the same idea would be for this, where you just see a hex is taken. You don't know where in the hex. Yeah. Good luck driving around and looking at every rooftop and trying to find an antenna.
Exactly. Next question, new. What's the coverage of the antenna? If we are far from the airport, is there a chance to receive any signals from the plane? It's kind of a hard question. It depends on location of antenna, what type of antenna, how the topography of the land. Are you in a valley? Are you on a mountain? But I'd say, Mike, on an optimal setup, how long? I mean, essentially, it's line of sight until the Earth curves. What is, like 400 kilometers?
Yeah, it's far. But here's what I'm going to suggest, Newen, and I can link this in general chat or somewhere else after this. But there's a tool out there that's, I think it's heywhatsthat.com. I got to remember, but it allows you to visualize based on your location, what should you be able to see, and the reach of it. The challenge is always going to be, do you have any close obstacles, like a building next to you or a giant tree, which actually does block RF to some extent? How high up is your antenna? So there's always going to be challenges. I personally can tell you from experience, I've got an airport, I don't know, 20 some odd, maybe. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. Probably about 30 some odd miles is in a direct line of sight. I can see the planes as they approach the airport, but only currently down to about 6,000 to 8,000 feet. I can't get any lower than that. Now, admittedly, my antenna can go even higher, and I do plan on doing that. And that should get me over my next door neighbor who refused to destroy their house. So I would have a better line of sight towards the horizon. I might reach down to, I don't know, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 foot altitude where I still see them. Obviously, if you have line of sight of the physical airport, you will see things on the ground, which is kind of amazing to watch when people have that, because you will see machines moving around that are like fuel vehicles. You will see the planes that are taxiing around the runway, waiting to take off or waiting to go into the terminal. That is a really cool thing to see, really cool treasure trove of data, but you have to have line of sight. So you will pick up plenty of planes if you're anywhere near an airport, 20, 30, 50 miles. It's just how low will you see them?
Yeah, exactly. Living in Dallas, I know you guys are about to wrap this up, but I can go over again what we as community can do to optimize and help this project to get to where you want to take it. So I say, for now, depending on your situation and what you can do, optimizing the first, if you have one antenna, try to get it on the outside of the house would be the first suggestion, and not leave it inside. That would make a big difference. If I have to give you the best, absolute best tip, and I would love everyone who does this, if you can set an antenna that has clear line of sight to the runway of airport where you get all the data from the planes running around on the ground, you're amazing, and that will be the most amazing thing ever, and that would really benefit the project.
And actually, I haven't mentioned it to Robin. Oops. So I have been speaking with someone who is potentially has hangar access for multiple local airports in the U.S. I think that would be kind of cool. They're small airports. They're little private ones. They're not ginormous international airports. But to have that ground level access and be able to show planes taking off, even if they're little Cessnas or whatever, it's super, super cool and amazing information.
Yeah. I have a local airport and I do see planes on the ground. Yeah, that's amazing. Like, we have a few airports on the map. I think like Barcelona is pretty cool. Sydney, I think Toronto, I think even Copenhagen. Like, there are some really cool airports. There's one in, I think, Vienna or something. But it's really cool to see all the vehicles driving around, and you can see the planes kind of taxiing to the gates and stuff. That's really, really cool data. But I think I'm going to have to wrap up in like 9 minutes, but I'd be happy to do stages throughout the week if people have more questions. If you guys appreciate having stages outside of this change, if you want to have them on a monthly basis or maybe something like that, we can absolutely do that. We put it in suggestions if you see any value in it. But it will take some more questions for another 8 minutes or so. Then I have to wrap up because we're in Europe, so it's getting a little bit later, and I actually I have to work a little bit more before I can leave. Yeah, thank you so much. Anyone else have any last questions that they're dying to ask, or should we call it a night here at least?
I have a question.
Go for it, Mike.
So, Robin, how do you feel about pineapple on your pizza?
Ooh, how many people are going to leave? Maybe do a vote. Maybe vote in the community first. Okay, I'll just go for it. I actually really like pineapple on pizza. So I don't know if you're going to hate me or love me now, but it's a dividing question for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lord. Pro pineapple, nice.
So Gamma's asking, do you have an ETA when this recording will be available to watch? So I was thinking about this while we were doing this. I'm not sure. I'll talk with Robin and Alex and figure out what we want to do. We have a few options. We can post this, and I'm literally capturing the speaking screen and the chat on the right, not anything else on my desktop. And I don't know if people would feel comfortable with their chat scrolling by and their names on the screen, but I thought that there's also the option of us using this as a foundation to record an actual video where you see faces and everything, but we have all the questions that people have asked, because I'm sure for each one of you, there's 10 other people that couldn't make it that have the same exact question. So I don't know how the format, I guess we'll have a chat on what to do with that and whether we'll put it up as is or do something else.
I'll post. Please vote a thumbs up or down.
What's going on?
Yeah, just if you can just comment, just do a thumbs up or thumbs down on my little comment in the chat if you're comfortable with the chat scrolling through. If we just leave this as a recording, that would definitely be the easiest, and then people can actually follow the questions on the side. maybe it's a bit annoying that I actually read the questions then when they can read it, but it is what it is.
And for everybody who left already, you don't get a vote.
Yeah. Oh.
Man, there's a lot of pineapple pizza.
I love it. I knew I joined the right community here.
I'm going to have to reevaluate my choices in life.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, we should have maybe talked about that before.
Yeah, it should have been part of the process because no, I don't have anything against pineapple. I think if you want to eat pizza however you want, I never thought a white pizza would be for me. But my son and I have now become the white pizza people in the household where everything's white and it's like olive oil and there's feta and everything on it. I never would have guessed that, but I tried it once and I liked it. So you never know. Enjoy what you enjoy.
Have another very dividing comment.
Yeah,
pizza is better in Europe. And I can actually say that because I lived in the US for 14 years and I've lived in Europe for as long. So pizza is better in Europe.
Did you live in New York, Chicago, Detroit? Those are the three places with different type of pizza that would compete. So I don't think you can just make that statement.
The best pizza I ever had was in Valencia, Spain. Anyway, let's see.
Well, we got about 10 people okay with it.
Yeah, we'll just we'll probably just post a chat. I think I'm the only one that has an actual name on there anyway, so no one will be able to track you down.
How about this? If you are here now and you do not want your likeness or whatever to be posted, DM me because Robin's got other work to do. Send me a private message and say like, hey man, if it's all cool, can you not? And we'll figure something out. We don't need to call people out if they don't want to be part of it.
Yeah. Good point.
All right.
All right, guys. Let's see if there's Jeff. Do you have one more question? Otherwise, I think we'll wrap it up. And again, we can do more stages throughout the next week or so.
Everybody's anxiously waiting on Jeff.
Yes. So we will send out it's a Google form. If they joined late, we will send out a Google form to everyone. It will go to your email that you signed up your account with. And there you'll put in your email address to verify. And then you'll have two options. You click either you want refund or you want token drop. You have until end of this month to edit your answer if you change your mind. But at the end of this month, we're going to collect all the answers. And if people have not answered by that time, we'll probably reach out first a couple of times. After that, if we don't get an answer, we'll just do a refund for the people that do not answer the form.
All right.
So, yeah, but the form should be sent out, if not tomorrow. Most likely we'll send it out tomorrow. But worst case, very latest on Monday.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks everybody.
I really appreciate everyone that stayed in here. I know a lot of people stayed in here for the whole long time. Super appreciated that you're here, asking questions, giving feedback. Massive thanks for being part of the community. So really appreciate it. It was really fun. Reach out with any questions and we'll do more of this down the road. But have a good day, evening, morning, everybody. Really appreciate you being here.
Yep. Thank you.